Are you craving a trip on Space Mountain? Well, we've got the next best thing. Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast.
Hey folks, and welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, the ultimate unofficial Disney fan podcast. I'm Jeff DePauli, and in today's House of Mouse headlines, we get even more details about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. We also see some great quality footage from Frozen the Broadway musical, plus some controversy at ABC. That and so much more, so let's get to it.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Let's begin overseas today at Disneyland Paris. Of course, this year we're celebrating Mickey Mouse's 90th birthday, so Disneyland Paris has some special offerings for the occasion. As I mentioned last week, Mickey and his Philharmagique Orchestra will be heading to Disneyland Paris, but in addition to that, Mickey will be appearing on a new float during the Halloween cavalcade from October 1st through November 4th. As part of Halloween, he'll also be performing some Halloween tricks at Mickey's Illusion Manor from the steps of his house. Then when Christmas rolls around, you'll be able to see Mickey as part of Mickey's Christmas Big Band over at the Walt Disney Studios Park from November 10th through January 6th. And before we leave Paris, I just want to say real quickly, the Disney Fan Days event took place on Saturday, June 2nd, which looked amazing with tons of rare character opportunities for photos. So I'll talk a bit more about that next weekend once I gather all the information, but I did want to mention that that happened on Saturday, June 2nd, and it looked amazing. Over at Hong Kong Disneyland, they recently opened Moana, A Homecoming Celebration. Videos of this production are available online, so I'll be sure to include a link in the episode description. The show is an Adventureland at a newly built theater. Now, the best comparison I would make to it is something like Pocahontas and Her Forest Friends, if you happen to remember that. It's a fairly small-scale show meant for younger audience members. The only real character you'll see from the film is Moana. The rest of the cast include additional storytellers playing the role of Maui and puppets standing in for other characters. One thing you won't get too much of in the show is the music from the film. You'll hear small pieces of it throughout the show, but there are no big performances of any of the musical numbers. I gotta be honest, I don't remember this specific moment in the movie, but at one point in this stage show they have little coconut dolls filling in for small characters from the film. At one point these coconut dolls are being tossed all around the stage in some sort of attack. Now this leads us to a moment where we get to see Moana grab her giant paddle to whack these coconut dolls mid-air as if they were baseballs. Just picture it, it's pretty funny. One of the things about the live shows in the overseas parks that I always applaud is the use of 2 languages in their shows. They always do such a good job making sure that no matter which language you speak, you understand the story being told. And it never feels like the characters are just repeating exactly what the previous one said. It seems like such a hard task for a writer, and I'm always impressed by the outcome. Speaking of Hong Kong Disneyland, Walt Disney Imagineering recently released new artwork showing us more details about the current Hong Kong Disneyland expansion. In this new artwork, we see a roller coaster included as part of the new Frozen section coming to the park. We also get a new rendering of the castle expansion, which in my opinion looks a lot better than the original renderings shown to us. It seems to be more cohesive than what we were previously shown. And finally, we got some new artwork for the Ant-Man and the Wasp shooting game attraction. All of these expansions are rolling out at different time periods up until the year 2023. Speaking of Ant-Man and the Wasp, from June 8th through July 15th, you can see a sneak peek of the latest Marvel film at the Tomorrowland Theater in Disneyland Park. That means that Star Wars Path of the Jedi will not be showing it at that time since the Tomorrowland Theater has been its home for several years now. This does make me wonder whether or not Star Wars Path of the Jedi will be returning after the Ant-Man preview, or if they'll keep putting new previews in there. Technically, the Disneyland Resort has lost one of its preview theaters since they used to show so many of these at the It's Tough to Be a Bug theater, which is now closed. I personally really enjoyed Star Wars Path of the Jedi, but it's had a nice long run and I'm ready for something new. But if it truly is not returning, I do wish that they made an announcement about that instead of just letting it disappear into the galaxy. And staying at the Disneyland Resort for a moment, news has come out, as promised, that the annual pass holder program will be going through more changes before the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in the summer of 2019. It has been officially reported that depending on the level of your annual pass, you will now have 2 separate blackout calendars, one for Disneyland Park and one for Disney California Adventure Park. This is obviously to cut down on the crowds expected for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland Park, as well as making it possible to sell more single-day tickets for a higher profit. It looks like this change will come in June of 2019, and that the payment plan option will still remain. Now hopping over to the other coast, fans of the Minnie Van service at Walt Disney World will be happy to hear that you can now use this service resort-wide. This service had been rolling out in sections testing to see whether or not it was profitable. Well, apparently it is, because no matter where you're staying on Walt Disney World property, you can now get yourself a Minnie Van pickup. No more waiting for buses, boats, or monorails if you're willing to spend some more money at Walt Disney World. Maybe it'll get so popular that the bus, boat, and monorail lines will see shorter lines. That'd be pretty great. To celebrate the Peter Pan 65th anniversary Walt Disney Signature Collection release, Walt Disney World had some celebrations this past Saturday, June 2nd. At Magic Kingdom, Peter, Wendy, and the Lost Boys had a little following the leader parade up and down Main Street, USA. In the evening, some resorts showed Peter Pan outdoors as part of their Movies Under the Star events. This is something that some folks may not be aware of, but a lot of the Disney hotels show movies outside at night. I love that they have this offering, but I so rarely take advantage of it since I'm usually in a park at night. I guess it's geared more for the younger guests who have an earlier bedtime, but if you are staying at a Disney hotel, you should look into whether or not they have Movie Under the Stars if you happen to have an open evening. It's a fun little addition to your Disney resort stay. Donald's Dino-Bash has begun over at Disney's Animal Kingdom. As you may remember from a past episode, Donald has recently discovered that dinosaurs are his ancestors since birds are dinosaurs, so he and his friends have decided to throw a party in Dinoland, USA. As ridiculous as this is, and as much of a stretch as that story is, it definitely makes way for some extremely adorable meet and greets. This was essentially created so that characters would have a place to meet and greet since Camp Minnie Mickey's been taken over by Pandora the World of Avatar. Now the highlight of this bash for me is possibly the biggest stretch of them all. Chip and Dale wanted to be part of the celebration, so now they adorn their Dino onesie PJs for meet and greets. They call it Chipmunkosaurus, and it is truly the most adorable versions of Chip and Dale you will ever see. I might even just wait in line to snap a pic with them. Donald's Dino-Bash is now an ongoing event at Disney's Animal Kingdom, so if you have young ones in your party, you'll definitely want to head toward Dinoland, USA. Last weekend, Star Wars Galactic Nights took place at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and with it, we get some more details about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. We found out that the name of the village in Galaxy's Edge that we'll be visiting is Black Spire Outpost. Disney Parks blog describes the village this way. The largest settlement on the planet of Batuu, Black Spire Outpost is an infamous stop for traders, adventurers, and smugglers traveling around the Outer Rim and wild space. Off the beaten path, this outpost has become a haven for the galaxy's most colorful and notorious characters. Widely known for the petrified remains of its own towering ancient trees, the spires now stand guard across the river valleys and plains and have long captured the imaginations of travelers to this planet. To the first settlers, these petrified spires became more than just landmarks. They became the heart of the outpost itself. I kinda love this description and naming. For a while now, we've seen construction of the spires poking above the tops of Galaxy's Edge, but I think everyone assumed that it was just some cool rock work. I love that these are now petrified remains of fallen trees. It's a great story detail that was unexpected. At Galactic Nights, we also found out that a beloved character whose name I'm going to butcher, I believe it's Naigan Nunba, he will be part of Galaxy's Edge. Now, this character was introduced in Return of the Jedi as a Rebel Alliance pilot who flew in the Millennium Falcon beside Lando Calrissian. He's also appeared in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. They'll be using the original voice actor to bring this character to life once again for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Along with this information, the Imagineers showed some photos of the full-size AT-ATs being built for the land. They look pretty darn cool. I'll include a video link of the panel in the episode description. I also want to mention something that was part of Galactic Nights that I hadn't heard about before. Apparently, Rock and Roller Coaster gets a Star Wars layover for the evening with projections and the John Williams score. I wasn't aware that this was a thing, so that's pretty cool. Now for some Star Wars news that was confirmed this past week that honestly, I thought had been officially announced already. I guess that's the danger of following so many of the Disney rumors. For a long time, I had heard that the Star Wars fully immersive hotel that is being built at Walt Disney World was being connected to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Well, now it's official since the Disney Parks blog has reported it. The hotel will be located on the south side of Disney's Hollywood Studios just east of World Drive. I'm curious to see whether or not this hotel will be able to be seen from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and how it fits in with the story. This hotel will certainly set it apart from Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge. Another Star Wars rumor that has been confirmed is the Boba Fett standalone movie coming to the Star Wars universe. It's been announced that director James Mangold, who directed films including The Wolverine and Logan, is slated to write and direct this Boba Fett standalone movie. Boba Fett was originally introduced to the universe in the infamous Star Wars Holiday Special, but most people know him originally from The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. A fun little Disney tie-in with director James Mangold is that he has a writing credit for Disney's Oliver & Company. Fans of The Incredibles will be happy to hear about an Incredibles 2 fan event happening throughout the country. You'll be able to see the highly anticipated film Incredibles 2 1 week early and for free at select AMC IMAX locations. There will also be a pre-event conversation with cast and filmmakers. The cities where this will be happening include Boston, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, June 6th. You can register for this event at seeitfirst.net, but honestly, I'd be surprised if there were still currently tickets available. For those of you who will be attending, have a great time and enjoy Incredibles 2, just don't spoil it on social media after seeing it a week early. If you're not able to attend but would like to see the pre-event conversation, you can watch that on Pixar's YouTube channel. For the rest of us, the movie will be released soon enough, on Friday, June 15th. Now for some controversial news of the week. ABC has canceled the hit sitcom reboot Roseanne after Roseanne Barr tweeted something extremely inappropriate. I won't get into the details because it's been all over the news and I'm sure you've heard about it by now. Now obviously this is a very unfortunate circumstance for the hundreds of people who worked on Roseanne, from actors to writers, grips, production assistants, and beyond. Because of one person's tweet, a large group of people are now unemployed. I wouldn't be surprised at all if ABC decides to bring the show back and kill off the character Roseanne while keeping the rest of the cast. I also wouldn't be surprised if there's any way possible that they could work out the contractual details if another network tried to pick up the series. The fact is that the ratings of the show were very good for network TV. Sure, ratings declined a good amount since the premiere, but it was still a strong runner by the end of the season. Let's face it, folks, when it comes to TV networks, money talks. It's a business, and I can't help but think that there was something more behind this than just a tweet. I think it was building up for ABC and they were looking for a way out. They found the way out with a tweet, but it's no secret that many people on television have tweeted equally as inappropriate comments, yet their series weren't cancelled. I'll be very curious to see what happens with the show Roseanne, and as for the person, I wouldn't be surprised if she has a comeback. There are many people still supporting her, and I think that a lot of people would still tune into her sitcom. Only time will tell with this one. And actually, I now have a bit of an addition to this story because it looks like ABC is now in talks to keep Roseanne alive with a reboot focusing on the character of Darlene, played by Sarah Gilbert, who is also a producer of the Roseanne reboot. This doesn't surprise me at all. As I was saying, this show was a successful reboot. It had good ratings, so it doesn't surprise me that ABC wants to keep it alive in some way, shape, or form. I'll be curious to see whether or not Roseanne can be successful without Roseanne. Now for some exciting ABC news. The ABC sitcom The Middle recently aired its series finale after 9 wonderful seasons. I personally watched The Middle since day one, and although it was never a ratings juggernaut or received industry accolades, it was a solidly consistent show that never disappointed. The Hex, who are the family that the show centers around, were a family that I truly looked forward to catching up with every week. The series finale was perfection. It satisfied every desire you could ever want from the show, and although I was sad to say goodbye to the Hex, I was also very pleased with how it ended. But recent news shared that maybe I can still have a bit of Heck family time in the future. One of my absolute favorite characters on the show was Sue, the daughter of the family, performed by Eden Scher. Well, it has been announced that ABC is eyeing a spin-off of The Middle all about Sue, who was a junior in college when the series ended. In the series finale, we found out that Sue does indeed end up with her will-they-won't-they love interest. I'm always a bit wary of spin-offs, especially when the original series ends so beautifully, but I say risk it for some more Sue Heck time. After all, ABC does have an empty time slot now with the unexpected cancellation of Roseanne. Also, as a side note here, fans of the Disney XD series Star vs. the Forces of Evil know Eden Scher's voice as the voice of Star on that series. Now let's fly to NYC for some Disney Broadway news. Unless you've been living under a rock and or not listening to your DCTC, you know that Frozen is now a hit Broadway musical. Now, New York City isn't always the easiest place for everyone to get to see a show, so it's always great when a Broadway musical does a performance on TV. It's even better when the show does the performance live from their stage. In most cases, the cast of a musical will visit a TV studio for a TV performance. But in the case of this past week, we saw Frozen the Musical performed from their house, the St. James Theater on Broadway, on not one but two ABC shows. You can catch a performance of Let It Go on ABC's The View, and a performance of For the First Time in Forever on Good Morning America. I very much enjoyed watching both of these performances. This production is what I like to describe as a show where you can see money dripping off of the set. It is a production where you can easily see where the cost of your expensive theater ticket is going. It was really nice to hear the song Let It Go sung in a lower key. Singing that song in its original key 8 times a week is simply not possible for anyone without damaging their voice. And me personally, I think it sounds better in the lower key and allows for a more memorable ending to the song. I'll include links to both of these songs in the episode description. And now for some news related to the Disney-Fox acquisition. I see a lot of Disney fans talking as if Disney owns Fox. That is not a done deal, and it never has been a done deal. There's a lot of red tape to get through before this officially happens, and now, apparently there's some stiff competition. Comcast, who owns NBC Universal, is offering a large amount of cash to purchase 21st Century Fox. In fact, they're offering more than Disney. It looks as though Disney really wants to buy Fox, so reports say that Disney is getting money together to make an even better offer. I'm not sure how this is going to all turn out, but I think it's going to be a great book in the future. For me, a best case scenario would be that Comcast buys Fox and sells off Star Wars, Avatar, and any Marvel properties to Disney. It'll be interesting to see how it all ends up. That's the news for this week, but I do want to make a correction from last Sunday's House of Mouse headlines. I mentioned that actor Cheyenne Jackson would be playing Hades in the upcoming Descendants 3, but I also mentioned that Disney fans may know Cheyenne Jackson from Once Upon a Time. Thank you to Disney Dwayne for pointing out my error, as Cheyenne Jackson was never on Once Upon a Time. Perhaps he should have been, and I was simply subliminally making a brilliant casting choice. And before we get going, we gotta get to this week's Twitter poll. On this past Wednesday's episode of Disney Coast to Coast, we talked all about Solo, a Star Wars story, as well as the Void virtual reality Star Wars experience. So this week's Twitter poll was simply, which standalone Star Wars movie do you prefer? Rogue One or Solo, a Star Wars story? The loser here is Solo, a Star Wars story, which got 39% of the votes, which means Rogue One wins with 61% of the votes. I do want to remind all of you that this upcoming July 28th and 29th is Midsummer Scream in Long Beach, California, where I will be moderating a Hocus Pocus 25th anniversary panel on Sunday, July 29th. You can get tickets now over at midsummerscream.org. Also, guys, if you want some cool DCTC rewards, including live Q&As and audio commentaries, I actually recently released an audio commentary of The Princess and the Frog. You can check out our Patreon page over at patreon.com/DCTC or check it out at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. Also, it's a new month, which means a new music playlist. Now, this month's music playlist I'm actually a big fan of. It's called From Screen to Stage, and these are Disney movies that started on the big screen and ended up on the stage, and I kind of do like a comparison of songs from the film and the stage version. It's a fun little music playlist. Sign up for that over at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. Of course, all of our social media can be found at DisneyCoastToCoast.com as well, so make sure you connect with us there and interact with us all week long. This episode of Disney Coast to Coast was produced by Philip Elke, who has supported the show through Patreon. If you'd like to become a DCTC producer or gain other rewards, more information can be found at patreon.com/DCTC. Till next time, have a magical day, everybody. Bye!
Thanks for watching Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com.